Surprise! I'm not dead, I'm still here. So this is the first day that I've really felt like filming something in the last, I don't know, how long has it been? 2 weeks? Because I have been through a little bit of a breakthrough, and today's really the first day that I'm feeling good about it. Feeling like I know what to do. I kind of got my footing back, if you will. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what's happened. I'm going to keep it pretty brief because for me, it's been really, really major and really life-changing. But I don't have time to explain all the ins and outs of how this proliferates throughout my entire life. So I'm going to do the best I can to give you a little bit of a synopsis. So I think it was about 2 weeks ago, 10 days maybe. I had this major realization that my true self was still hiding really deep down inside of me, behind this super thick shell of trying to please other people. And to keep a long story really short, when I was a teenager, my main point of angst, if you will, was I felt like I wasn't understood, especially by my parents, by people who I felt like should know me and love me. I felt like they didn't really understand who I was, and I ended up getting very confused about who I needed to be for people to accept me and love me. So as time went on, I actually ended up creating this other persona. I've written about it a few times on my Instagram, but essentially my first job, one of the first days I started, I remember thinking to myself, I can't be me here. I have to be somebody else. And so I literally fabricated this entire other person. And I thought that person was gone. I have been working really intensely on myself for somewhere between 7 and 8 months now, I think. Probably pushing 8 months. And so when the realization came to me that when I became aware that that shell was still there, that there was still 90% of me trying to people please, sacrificing my own desires. I'm very good at keeping myself busy and distracted doing what other people want me to do, and kind of avoiding the question of, okay, what do I want? A really good example of this, you've heard me talk about my teacher Angel like 5 million times. I really look up to her, and she helped me get out of a really shitty place. But I kind of woke up to the fact of how much I'm trying to emulate her, be like her, instead of being me. And there was a lot of things I was doing, and I ended up burning out is what ended up happening. I was having classes every day. My pregnancy has been a lot of nausea and a lot of exhaustion, and so I just don't have a lot of extra energy to go around. And the nausea makes my focus really bad, and sometimes it's just bad enough that I just lay down and that's all I can do. I'm taking 1 or 2 naps a day, sleeping 8-9 hours at night. Like, it's just first trimester, right? Like, I'm growing a human, and I have to remind myself of that. But when I first woke up to this, when it first hit me, it felt like I got hit with like a meteorite. Like, I just felt like my entire life was a lie, like I was a liar, and that I was a phony, and how could I not see that I was lying to everyone, and which really, I was unconscious of it. So none of that is true. That's just my inner mean girl talking to me. And I really felt like I was a bad person for a few days. I definitely spent a full day in shame of just crying and crying and crying. I cried for like 2 days straight. The first day was all shame. The second day was all guilt. Then I moved through anger. So I'm kind of going up the step ladder. And you know, I kept moving though. I was like, okay, I'm going to give these feelings space. I'm going to figure out what's going on. And the best way I've been able to describe it, like the way that I described it to my therapist the other day, was like, I felt like that shell was my cocoon. And once it burst open, like I was the wet, ugly ball of butterfly that falls out of it, like waiting for my wings to dry so that I can actually move. I feel like today is like the day that my wings have finally dried, and it's taken a week, and it's been the longest fucking week of my life. But like the first day I was so vulnerable and I was so exposed. And I'm actually reading Brené Brown's Daring Greatly right now, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. It has lined up perfectly. If you don't know who Brené Brown is, look her up. Please read her material. She has a 1-hour Netflix special, which would be a really great way to get to know her. But essentially she's a shame researcher, and she deals with shame and vulnerability. So I was like, this is perfect, because that's exactly how I feel. And so it took me a few days, and then I felt like I was okay, and then I felt really depressed. And it doesn't help. It just doesn't help feeling so sick and so tired already. I was having just a really hard time doing anything and really questioning everything that I've done. I'm still a little bit in that, but I am feeling more confident than I was before. Finding my voice is coming easier to me today. So I had a few days of feeling really depressed, just in a dark place. And, you know, I've been in darker, so I knew that I was okay. And like I said, I tried to give myself the space. I've never done this before. I've never just said, okay, I feel depressed. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just going to give it space. I'm going to relax. I'm going to take care of myself. I reached a point where I was like, I'm not doing anything else but eating, getting ready in the morning, doing my bedtime routine, taking care of Lyric, you know, like just way back to the basics. And if I feel like doing anything else in there, great. But I'm going to focus on sleep, food, hygiene, you know, the very basics. So that's one of the reasons why I've been MIA from social media. Another facet of the social media for me is I often share things. I didn't really realize until I read a part in Daring Greatly about this, but I often share things. I've always been a really open person. It's easier for me to deal with shame if I can talk about it. And I don't have a lot of close people around me to talk about those things. So I started posting everything online. And I don't really regret doing that, but what I've realized is there were a lot of times that I've posted about things that I didn't really fully understand about myself. I've posted things that I just had an idea and then I never really acted on it. A lot of half-formed, not fully fleshed out ideas, healings, talking about things that I really don't understand or even know if I believe in. Because when I started this journey, I was open to doing anything and everything. And that's what I did. I listened to my teachers, I listened to my therapist, and I literally did everything they told me to do. And that is what pulled me out of such a dark place, because I couldn't do that for myself. Well, I kind of did it for myself, but I couldn't come up with those tools. I had never learned those tools. So I needed that. And now I think I'm at a point where I don't necessarily need that. I'm at a point where I have enough tools in my tool belt and I have support where I need it, if I need it. And that's what kind of allowed that shell to break off. So, giving my emotions space. I think that's what I was talking about. So, and then I had a few days of just having a pity party for myself and feeling like I'd wasted all this money, and I'm kind of in a space of questioning everything, because this sounds so cliche, but I really don't know who I am. I went from feeling so depressed that I didn't even want to be here anymore, to being so amazed at how quickly I could jump through healing. And then I think I just kind of kept pushing. That's just a theme in my life. Just push through it, you can do it, keep going, keep going, keep going. And this really made me come full stop in a way that wasn't completely debilitating, that wasn't scary, or I didn't feel like I needed help, I wasn't drowning or anything like that. It was just kind of like, okay, full stop, I need to figure out what this is. And I think I've just come to the conclusion that I have never, since I was a teenager, really grasped the concept of living life just for me. And when I was a teenager, that's kind of the natural progression of my life. I know not everyone has the resources and support to follow that path, but I did. And I was just in this space of creating my own reality, rebelling against my parents, and wanting to really go out on my own and create my own world. And I was really optimistic, and I wasn't conscious of the fact that I carried this confusion about my identity with me since I was probably 16. And that it's just further developed into this, this beast. And what was left behind was this scared little girl who, that's who I am. I had to come face to face with the fact that the person that I am, among other things, is heartbroken. She is scared. I am confused. I am, uncertain and wanting to do really big things with my life and not having a fucking clue how to do that. And I don't think the way I've been trying to do that, which is push, 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 is gonna get there. I have to be real with where I'm at, and I reached my limit, and I had like a mini burnout. It wasn't a massive thing, but it was massive to me. But in hindsight, it was a mini burnout, and it was enough to just kickstart it and to go, oh, like something's not right. Something's still not right. And it was because I still had all these layers on me. I still had this shell, this protective shell that I built around myself. And that really has finally come off now. I am still dealing with being pulled toward the same habitual actions. But being very careful to just bring awareness to those spaces, to those actions. I'm taking things really slowly. That's one of the other things that I realized in this is I've been trying to move so quickly. Like I've been trying to go a million miles a minute, and I crave slowness. I crave like a slow, rich life. And I've been doing the polar opposite of that. I've been like hustle, 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 try to be everything to everyone, to do everything, to be all the things and do all the things and change the world overnight. And that just isn't what I crave. Like I want to go live in the woods on a mountaintop with nobody around me and just like do my thing, raise my kids. I am even questioning if I want to be a doula at this point, only because I think it needs to be questioned. I think everything that I've done needs to be questioned. I really need to think about, am I doing this for me, or was I doing this to impress someone else? Was I doing this because someone else suggested it to me? So my mom's the one that told me she thought I should be a doula because all I ever talk about is birth. My gut tells me that that is still the path I'm taking. But I think it's going to look a lot different than I have been speaking about. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure how it's going to look. Kind of in a point of not knowing and trying to be comfortable in that space of just not knowing. I don't know where this is going to take me. And for several days, I was having a hard, I was really thinking of this as like a bad thing. Like, I've worked so hard and now I'm taking this giant step back and I have to start over. And today was really the first day that I'm embracing that this is a step forward. In many ways, I am starting over, but I'm starting over without that extra layer of, facade around me, that extra layer of protection, that extra layer of, okay, who do I have to be today? And just feeling a little bit of that pressure fall away. I do anticipate some people being disappointed and people having a lot of questions, and I totally feel you because I felt all the same emotions, and it's myself that I'm speaking of. But I have to be, I don't want to waste this opportunity. I have to be intentional now and really care for this opportunity. And I've made a kind of a priority list for myself, and I am practicing gratitude for the journey that I've been on already. And this morning, I actually woke up, and just a fun little story for you. When my husband graduated from vet school, his parents sent us on vacation, and he wanted to go to Portland, and I was like, gross, Portland, like Portland, Oregon. And I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to go. And then we went, and it was amazing, and it was, I think, probably my favorite place I've ever been. And we even contemplated moving there for a while, and I definitely want to go back. And I woke up this morning just straight off the bat thinking about Portland, Oregon, and how I didn't want to go there. And that's how I'm choosing to feel about this new chapter of my story. Is I spent the last week really not wanting to go on this adventure, but I actually think this next one is going to be the most profound and my favorite. And I'm sure that after another few months, there'll probably be another show that will crack off and I'll feel like I'm right back here in this space. But I'm just looking for something different. And I thought I was following my intuition before. I thought I was really centered. I think what was happening is I was learning to recognize my intuition, have a better relationship with my intuition. I learned a lot of things that don't work for me. I learned a lot of things that maybe work for me. But ultimately, I even found a text message to somebody that said, I basically do whatever Erika and Angel tell me to, which Erika's my confidence coach. And so on some level, I was conscious of it, but I'm just ready to break away from that, which is something that both of those beautiful women tell us to do. They tell us, do not be a mini-me. Please go out and be your own being, your own person, and do your own thing. You have to do what works for you. And I kind of thought I was doing that, but have just come full circle to realize that I've just been trying to be what I thought they wanted me to be, which is what I've been doing for years and years and years, being what I thought my husband needed me to be, being what I thought my parents wanted me to be, my bosses, my friends, whatever. And I was really able to connect the dots throughout my story of all of these relationships that have really broken down and disintegrated with bosses or with friends, and realizing that those were actually the moments that I upheld my integrity, that I stood in my values and I did what I really felt like I needed to do. And the people on the other side were so used to me being a certain way that they were like, whoa, who is this person? This doesn't feel right. And either I ended up ending the relationship or they ended up ending the relationship. And that's happened, gosh, maybe 8 times.